What happens when a CEO walks into his own auto shop and hears one of his mechanics trash talking a customer to their face? Isaiah Reddick had grease under his nails and his collar soaked with sweat. The fake name on his work shirt read Cal. He leaned into the hood of an old Civic, pretending to check the belts, but really, his mind was spinning. This was his garage. Well, one of 17, Isaiah had built the chain from nothing. He started with one shop, worked every shift himself, and earned every dollar honestly. But now, with 17 locations across 3 states, he didn't know every face anymore. Most of the employees had never seen him. When they did, it was usually in boardrooms or on company newsletters. He was just a logo to them. Lately, he'd been getting vague reports: poor customer service, drop-in repeat business, employee turnover. Nothing concrete, just patterns. So he took matters into his own hands. He grew out his beard, dyed it gray, wore thick glasses, and added a slight limp for good measure. Cal, the new hire, was just an older guy looking to help out around the shop. That's how he got placed as a trainee at the Maplewood location, store number 11. This shop was only a 20-minute drive from corporate, but it felt like another world. The manager, Brent, barely looked at him during orientation. "Just sweep the bays, don't talk too much, and stay out of the way," he mumbled, then handed him a broom. Isaiah didn't argue. He needed to see the truth. By day 3, he had a rhythm. He swept floors, stocked oil jugs, and helped the younger techs organize tools. No one questioned him. He was just Cal, the old guy with a stiff knee and quiet eyes. That morning, it was already 85 degrees by 9. The garage doors were rolled up, letting in the smell of asphalt and burnt rubber. The front lobby had no AC, just a dusty fan that pushed hot air around. Isaiah walked in to drop off a part, and that's when he heard it. "I told you 3 times, lady, your brakes are shot." "You want me to write it in crayon?" A tall mechanic with greasy hands stood behind the counter. His name tag read Derek. The customer, a woman in her late 30s with a baby on her hip, looked stunned. "I'm just asking why it costs almost $600, that's all," Derek snorted. "Because that's what it costs when you wait too long to fix stuff, genius." Isaiah froze. The woman's face turned red. The baby started crying. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, backing away. I'll think about it." Isaiah stepped forward. "I'll help her load the car," he said quickly. Derek didn't look at him, just waved him off outside. The woman struggled to get the stroller back in the trunk. Isaiah held the trunk open for her. "I don't even know why I came here," she muttered. "My neighbor recommended this place, said it used to be honest." Isaiah's jaw tightened. "Used to be?" she nodded. "Yeah, not anymore." She drove off, and Isaiah stood there for a moment, staring at the street. When he walked back inside, Derek and another tech were laughing. "Did you see her face?" Derek chuckled. "Should have brought a dictionary if she wanted to understand basic car stuff." Isaiah didn't say anything, not yet, but he made a mental note. That evening, he sat in the back corner of the locker room, peeling off his gloves. One of the younger techs, a guy named Jalen, sat across from him, wiping his forehead with a rag. "You always this quiet, Cal?" Jalen asked. "Just listen more than I talk." Jalen smiled. "Wish more people did that." They sat in silence for a second. "Can I ask you something?" Jalen said. "You ever work at a place where the manager just doesn't care?" Isaiah looked up. "What do you mean?" "I mean Brent. He's barely here, doesn't order parts on time, doesn't schedule enough people. Last week I worked 12 hours straight cause 2 guys called out and Brent just disappeared." Isaiah nodded slowly. "Why don't you leave?" Jalen shrugged. "I like fixing cars, I like helping people, but it's getting harder to care when no one else does." That stuck with Isaiah. He saw that same tired look on another tech's face the next day, and the next. But it wasn't all bad. There was a woman named Vanessa, front desk, early 30s, sharp, kind, fast with numbers. She treated every customer like family. One older man came in with a busted muffler and no appointment. She squeezed him in between jobs, offered him coffee, kept him updated. "Thank you," the man had said. "Places like this don't usually help people like me." Vanessa shrugged it off. "We're not like most places." Isaiah watched all of it, silently, taking it in. On day 5, it got worse. A teenager came in with a prepaid card and asked for a tire rotation. Derek laughed in his face. "You think we're gonna waste a bay for your little toy car and a $20 card?" The kid looked embarrassed. "It's all I got." "Then go to a gas station and figure it out." "You're wasting our time." Isaiah stepped out from the back, heart pounding. He wasn't ready to blow his cover yet, not without talking to Brent first, but something had to give. That night, he waited until closing. Brent was in the office, feet on the desk, watching something on his phone. Isaiah walked in and shut the door. Brent looked up. "Cal, right, what's up?" "You have a problem out there," Isaiah said. Brent raised an eyebrow. "That's so. Derek's rude to customers. You don't have enough techs scheduled. Vanessa's doing 3 jobs and Jalen's burning out." Brent scoffed. "You've been here 5 days and think you know the place?" "I know this much. If someone doesn't step in soon, this place is gonna eat itself." Brent leaned forward. "You're a trainee. You don't get to tell me how to run my shop." Isaiah stared at him. "Maybe I do." Brent narrowed his eyes. "What's that supposed to mean?" Isaiah turned and walked out, leaving the door open behind him. He wasn't ready to drop the bomb just yet. But it was coming. By the 6th morning, the air in the shop felt heavier. Isaiah could sense something shifting, not from any single moment, but from an accumulation. A pattern. And it was starting to tighten like a belt stretched too far. The shop opened at 7, but Isaiah had gotten there early on purpose. He wanted to see who else did. At 6:30, it was just him and Vanessa, already behind the front desk typing something into the scheduling software. She didn't see him at first. Her focus was locked in, her left hand scribbling notes while her right clicked through pages. He approached quietly, not wanting to startle her. "You always hear this early?" he asked. She looked up, startled for half a second, then nodded. "If I don't get ahead of it, the whole day turns into a mess." Isaiah leaned on the counter. "You're not on until 7, why not clock in later?" She gave a short laugh. "Because Brent doesn't check the calendar until lunch, and if I don't double-check the bookings, we end up with 3 oil changes and a transmission flush all scheduled for the same bay." Isaiah nodded slowly. "You ever talk to him about it?" She hesitated. "Once. He said if I knew so much about the system, I should just run it myself, so I do, quietly." A beat passed between them. "You ever think about leaving?" Isaiah asked. She didn't answer right away. Then said, "I used to work at a dealership, bigger team, more structure. But they treated customers like wallets with legs. This place, it had heart. Or at least it did." The door creaked as Jalen walked in, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He looked like he hadn't gotten more than a few hours. Isaiah gave him a nod, and Jalen raised a hand in return before heading straight to the back to grab his tools. By 7:15, the garage was in motion. Cars rolled in. Tools clattered. The smell of coolant mixed with burnt oil. Brent arrived half an hour late, didn't acknowledge anyone, and went straight into the office. There was no morning briefing. No status update. No check-in with the team. Isaiah was assigned to assist Jalen on an overheating issue. He didn't say much as they worked, but Isaiah noticed how methodical he was. He double-checked the radiator pressure, traced the coolant line, and even inspected the thermostat housing steps most young techs skipped. But he moved slowly, not out of laziness, but from the weight of exhaustion. "You always cover diagnostics?" Isaiah asked as they closed the hood. "No one else likes doing it," Jalen said, wiping his hands. "Everyone wants the quick jobs. Brakes, oil, tires, easy money. But if you don't find the root cause, it just comes back a week later." They pulled the car off the lift and moved on to the next. It was like that all morning, Jalen working 2 bays, Derek Cherry picking the highest-paying tickets, and Brent nowhere to be found. Around 11, a delivery driver dropped off parts. Isaiah signed the invoice, scanning it briefly. 2 sets of pads, 1 alternator, and a serpentine belt. But he noticed something strange. The alternator wasn't for any of the active jobs. It was a different spec entirely. He brought the slip to Vanessa. "Do we have a car that needs this?" he asked, pointing to the part number. She checked the screen. Not today, that's for a Ford Focus. We haven't had one scheduled all week. Isaiah frowned. Then why'd it get ordered? She looked over the rest of the slip. Honestly, probably Brent trying to pad the monthly numbers. He bills parts to open work orders sometimes, then cancels them before closeout so Central doesn't flag it. Isaiah's voice dropped. That's fraud. Vanessa didn't look surprised. It's not on the books by the end of the day. It slips under the radar. Before Isaiah could say anything else, the door burst open. A man in his 40s stormed in, red-faced and breathing hard. I was here last week, he barked. You said my car was fixed. I got 5 blocks before the check engine light came back on. Vanessa stepped in. Let's take a look at your file. I paid over $400, he snapped. And it's worse now than before. Jalen walked in from the garage and looked at the man. Hyundai Sonata, he asked. The man nodded sharply. You had a misfire on cylinder 3, Jalen said. I told Derek to replace the coil and plug. He said he'd do both. Well, he didn't, the man growled. And now it stalls every time I stop at a light. Isaiah's eyes flicked toward the garage. Derek was outside, smoking behind the dumpster. I'll take a look, Jalen said, already moving toward the bay. Vanessa tried to calm the customer while Isaiah followed Jalen. In the back, they popped the hood. Only thing replaced was the plug, Jalen muttered. Coil's original, you can tell by the wear. Isaiah glanced at the part. So Derek charged for both. Looks like it. They called Brent to the bay. He showed up 5 minutes later, chewing gum and holding his phone like he'd been interrupted mid-text. We got a problem, Isaiah said. This car was billed for a coil that never got installed. Brent didn't even blink. Then install it now. Jalen shook his head. That's not the point. Brent looked at him. You want me to redo the paperwork? Fine, right off the part. Tell the guy it was a supplier error. Isaiah stepped forward. That's not a supplier error, that's fraud. Brent's tone sharpened. You've been here less than a week and you think you're going to teach me how to run my shop. Isaiah held his stare. I think someone needs to. Brent laughed once, humorless. You better watch your lane, old man. Jalen turned and walked off, clearly fed up. Isaiah followed, but not before catching the look Brent gave him, dismissive, careless, like none of it mattered. Back in the locker room, Jalen sat on the bench, shoulders low. I don't want to be the guy who quits without notice, he said quietly. But I don't know how much longer I can deal with this place. Isaiah sat down beside him. If you had the choice, better tools, better leadership, would you stay? Jalen looked over, surprised. Yeah, in a heartbeat. This work matters, it's just the people up top who don't. Isaiah nodded. I hear you. He stayed late that night after everyone else had gone. He walked through the bays alone, listening to the quiet hum of the air compressor and the faint ticking of cooling engines. The place was worn down but not broken. Not yet. In Brent's office, he flipped through the paper logs. Several invoices didn't match the parts ordered. Hours logged didn't line up with completed jobs. It wasn't just laziness. It was a system built on looking the other way. He left the office exactly as he found it, but the next morning he didn't show up in coveralls. He wore a navy button-down, slacks, and a company badge clipped to his belt. When he walked through the front door at 10, Vanessa's eyes widened. Jalen looked up from under a hood and dropped his wrench. Brent stepped out of the office, frowning. Isaiah walked straight past him and stood in the center of the garage. My name is Isaiah Reddick, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm the founder and CEO of this company, and I've been working in this shop for the past week under the name Cal. The room froze. Derek stepped out from behind a car, face pale. Brent's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Isaiah looked around the room, eyes landing on each of them. We have a lot to talk about. No one said a word. The hydraulic lifts were silent. The air compressor had shut off a minute earlier, leaving nothing but the low hum of fluorescent lights. Derek stood near Bay 2, jaw tight. Jalen's grip on the fender he'd been leaning against slowly loosened. Vanessa stared from the front desk, still holding a printout. Isaiah waited a beat, then turned to Brent. We'll begin in the office, he said. Brent didn't move. His eyes darted toward the exit and then back to Isaiah. but after a moment he followed. Inside, Isaiah closed the door behind them. The blinds were still tilted open, casting narrow gray shadows across the cluttered desk. Brent dropped into his chair, trying to look unfazed, but the way he adjusted his collar betrayed the unease. "You've been managing this location for over a year," Isaiah said, pacing slowly. "Tell me what you think your job is." Brent leaned back and crossed his arms. "To keep the shop profitable, make sure jobs get done, manage workflow." Isaiah stopped. "And who's responsible for customer satisfaction?" Brent shrugged. "We're not a hotel, man. People come here to get their cars fixed. That's it." Isaiah narrowed his eyes. "That's not it. A customer who walks out feeling humiliated doesn't come back. A customer who gets billed for work that wasn't done tells their neighbors." "You think we're just losing business at random?" Brent opened his mouth, but Isaiah raised a hand. "You've been inflating invoices, falsifying part usage, and allowing one of your lead techs to openly disrespect customers. You've got employees working 12-hour shifts with no rotation and no support, and you've either ignored it or encouraged it." Brent stood up, voice rising. "Look, I don't know what kind of fantasy you think this is, but this isn't some corporate showroom. This is a real shop. You don't keep the lights on around here by holding hands and singing songs. You hustle, you move fast, you cut the fat where you can." Isaiah stepped forward, calm but firm. "Cutting fat doesn't mean cutting integrity. You've turned this place into a liability. You've got good people running on fumes while you sit in here clocking hours no one can verify." Brent's eyes shifted. "You don't know what it's like dealing with half-trained kids and walk-ins who think they know more than us. You try keeping things together when corporate won't even send you enough staff." Isaiah didn't flinch. "You were sent 2 new hires in the last 6 months. One quit after 3 days. The other was pulled by regional after a formal complaint about how they were treated. That's not on corporate. That's on you." Brent sat down slowly, realizing he had no more ground. Isaiah only added, "You're done here, effective immediately." Brent looked like he wanted to argue but didn't. He reached for his phone, hesitated, and then slid it into his pocket. Isaiah opened the door and stepped out. The others turned as Brent exited behind him, heading straight for the back without a word. The sound of the locker door swinging open echoed through the quiet. Isaiah walked into the middle of the garage. "I'll speak with each of you individually this afternoon," he said, glancing at the team. "But I want to say something to all of you now." Derek leaned against a tool cart, arms crossed. Jalen took a step closer, still unsure of what to expect. "I came here undercover because something about this shop felt off," Isaiah continued. "And what I found was a group of people doing their best under a broken system. Some of you have been carrying more than you should. Others have been taking advantage of that. That ends today." He turned to Jalen. "Take your lunch now, full hour, no interruptions. When you're back, I want you off the floor. Come talk to me in the office." Jalen gave a small nod and walked toward the break room, his shoulders still tense but a little less hunched. Vanessa stepped out from the front desk and approached. "Do you want me to reschedule the rest of today's appointments?" she asked. Isaiah shook his head. "No, but I want you to give every customer a feedback card, handwritten, no email, just a card and a pen. Let them write whatever they want, bring them to me at the end of the day." She blinked. "We've never done that before. We're starting now." He turned to Derek. "We'll talk in an hour." Derek didn't respond, just looked away and walked back to his bay. Isaiah spent the next 2 hours reviewing the books. He called regional and asked for the last 6 months of work orders, digital and paper. He flagged 6 mischarges, 3 mismatched parts, and 2 tickets that had been voided without a trace. He logged everything, not to build a case against Brent. He already knew Brent wouldn't be coming back, but to understand how deep the rot went. When Jalen walked into the office after lunch, his uniform shirt was still damp with sweat, but his eyes were clearer. Isaiah motioned for him to sit. "I'm not going to ask you to explain anything," Isaiah said. "You've already shown me everything I need to see, but I want to know what you need." Jalen hesitated. Honestly, tools that don't fall apart, basic stuff like gloves in stock, a schedule that doesn't change the night before. And someone who actually listens. Isaiah nodded. You'll get all of that. Starting Monday, I'm bringing in a regional training manager. You'll be part of a pilot mentorship program. You'll train incoming techs and help design the onboarding process. Jalen looked stunned. Me? You've got the right instincts, you care about the work, and you've got the patience most people don't. Jalen sat back, still processing. One more thing, Isaiah added. Your pay's going up, not just a bump full lead tech rate. Retroactive to the start of the quarter. Jalen leaned forward, voice lower. Why me? Isaiah didn't smile. He just said, because you never gave up on doing the job right, even when the system didn't. Next came Vanessa. She sat across from him, a yellow folder in her lap. I've got the feedback cards, she said. Some are good, some are brutal. Isaiah took the folder and set it aside without opening it. I already know what they'll say, he said. You've been holding this place together without ever asking for credit. That's not why I do it, I know. Which is why you're the new acting shop manager if you want it, she froze. What? You already do the job. You understand the workflow, the customer flow, and the team. You're respected by the staff. That's more than Brent ever managed. She looked down at her hands. I've never managed a shop before. You don't have to do it alone. I'll have regional support you through the transition. You'll sit in on weekly calls with ops. But the day-to-day, that's yours, she nodded slowly. Then I'll do it. Isaiah stood. You'll also be reviewing compensation for everyone here, including your own. She raised an eyebrow. You want me to set my own pay? I want you to propose what's fair, based on the work, not the title. She left the office with a different posture than she'd had all week, not taller. Just steadier. By end of day, Derek hadn't approached Isaiah once, but Isaiah found him near the back door, wiping down tools. You've been here a while, Isaiah said. Derek didn't look up. Yeah, you've got experience. You know your way around a car. But I can't keep people who treat customers like they're beneath them. Derek straightened. I didn't know who she was or who you were. That's part of the problem. Derek tossed the rag onto the cart. So you firing me? No. But you're not touching another car until you complete a 2-week training rotation. Customer service, ethics, and diagnostics. After that, we reevaluate. Derek looked like he wanted to argue, then just nodded once. Isaiah walked out to the parking lot as the sun dipped behind the trees. He stood there for a moment, looking at the building. The same walls, same bays, but something had shifted, not fixed, not yet. But shifted. He pulled out his phone, called his assistant, and said one thing, get me the schedules for every location. I'm doing this again. Isaiah returned to the Maplewood shop the following Monday without disguise, his name plainly displayed on a fresh company badge. The staff greeted him with sidelong glances and measured nods, unsure whether to treat him like a visiting executive or a former coworker. He didn't make them guess. He walked straight to the service bay, rolled up his sleeves, and spent the first hour loading old tires onto a trailer with Jalen. Same schedule this week? Isaiah asked, passing a tire across the trailer ramp. Mostly, Jalen said. Vanessa's trying to stagger shifts now. Me and Devin rotate closing hours. Isaiah nodded. How's it working out? Jalen wiped his hands on a rag. Nothing's perfect, but at least now we know who's covering what. Used to feel like a coin toss every morning. Inside, Vanessa had turned Brent's old office into something functional. The clutter was gone, replaced with an open calendar board, printed schedules, and a clear inbox-outbox system for part receipts. She moved quickly, but deliberately, sorting through the morning drop-offs without needing to call for help. When Isaiah stepped in, she slid a clipboard toward him. These are the deferred repairs from last week, she said. 3 customers called back after the follow-ups and want to proceed now. I rebooked them, but we'll be tight on bay space this afternoon. He studied the list. You're tracking follow-ups now? She tapped the edge of a spiral notebook. Every job that doesn't close gets a phone call within 72 hours. If they don't return, we log why. Isaiah set the clipboard down. Where'd you learn that system? I didn't, I made it, he nodded once. Keep it, we'll roll it out across the other locations. She paused, looking up. You're not just fixing this one shop, I'm starting here. But no, this wasn't a one-time thing. She leaned back, crossing her arms. You going under again? He shook his head. No need. Word's already spreading. If I showed up as a mystery trainee twice, I'd get spotted halfway through orientation. Vanessa gave a dry laugh. Probably. He turned toward the window. How's Derek adjusting? She hesitated. He's quiet, shows up on time, doesn't argue, but he's not exactly engaged. He didn't have to stay. I know. That's why I'm watching. Isaiah left her to it and crossed into the back lot, where Derek was pressure washing engine covers in silence. The spray hissed against the plastic, mist rising into the air. Isaiah waited until he turned off the machine before speaking. You've got 3 more days in rotation, he said. After that, we'll talk reassignment. Derek leaned against the wall, arms folded across his chest. You still planning to keep me? That depends. On what? On whether you show up for the job you were hired to do or just the one you think you're entitled to. Derek looked away, jaw tight. I didn't ask to be part of some experiment. Isaiah stepped closer. Neither did the customers you insulted, or the coworkers who picked up your slack. Derek didn't respond. Isaiah looked out over the parking lot. I'll give you the same thing I gave Jalen, a clear role, proper tools, and a fair shot. But if you're just riding this out to get back to business as usual, it ends here. Derek met his eyes. I got used to things operating a certain way, doesn't mean I liked it. Isaiah nodded, then turned and walked away. By midweek, the energy in the shop had shifted again, not dramatically. There were still tense moments and delays. A parts shipment arrived missing 2 gaskets, and Vanessa had to reroute a customer to another location. Jalen had to work a double after Devin called out sick. But the difference now was in how problems were handled openly, directly, with accountability. Isaiah spent most of Thursday in the back office reviewing video footage of other locations. He watched a front desk rep at the Westfield shop ignore a customer for 6 straight minutes while scrolling on her phone. Another clip showed a manager at the Riverbend store pushing a tire upsell 3 separate times to a woman who'd already refused it. He made notes. Each clip went into a compiled file marked Phase 2. Late in the afternoon, Vanessa knocked once and entered. Customer out front wants to talk to you, she said. Didn't say why, just asked for the owner. Isaiah stood, pulled his sleeves back down, and followed her through the lobby. A man in his late 50s stood near the waiting area holding a receipt. He wore a faded denim jacket and had grease under his nails. You Isaiah? He asked. Yes, the man held out the receipt. My kid was in here last week, got turned away by one of your guys, had a prepaid card and a car that needed rotation. I heard you handled it. Isaiah nodded. I was there. Well, the man said, folding the receipt. That was my son, 17, just got his license, didn't know what tire rotation meant until I explained it to him after. Isaiah watched him carefully. I just wanted to say thanks, the man continued. He came home thinking he'd done something wrong, was beating himself up. But after you guys called and offered to do the work for free, it changed the story. Isaiah nodded. He shouldn't have been treated that way, still. Not many places would have owned it. He left without fanfare, and Isaiah stood there a moment longer, watching him cross the lot. That evening, he gathered the team in the service bay. The lifts were shut down, tools hung neatly on the racks, and the floor had just been swept. You all know who I am now, he began, and I know who each of you are. No one moved. Even Derek showed up, leaning against a column. This shop was headed for collapse, not because of bad luck or bad customers, but because we stopped paying attention. We stopped listening. And we let bad habits become policy. He looked around the group. I'm not going to promise that things get easy from here, but I can promise that what happened here won't be forgotten. This shop is going to be the model we use moving forward. Not because it's perfect, but because it changed. Vanessa crossed her arms, listening. Jalen stood still with his hands in his pockets. No one interrupted. We'll be rotating staff from other locations through here. Not to fix them, just to show them what's possible when people are treated like they matter. Isaiah stepped back. If you're willing to keep building this, you'll have every tool, every resource, and every bit of support I can give. He let them go after that. No applause, no long speeches. Just a hard stop and a clear path forward. On Friday morning, Isaiah left before sunrise. His next stop was a shop 2 counties over that had seen a spike in complaints last quarter. He wasn't going undercover again, but he didn't announce his visit either. As he pulled out of the Maplewood lot, he caught sight of Vanessa walking in early again, coffee in one hand, folder in the other. Jalen was pulling the bay doors open. Derek stood by the tool chest, already wearing gloves. Isaiah drove off without rolling down the window. He didn't need to say anything. They were already doing the work.